Hola, hola, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Listo, hola, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Listo, ahora sí.
Sí, listo. Que va.
Hello, we have breaking news at this hour. Venezuela has been struck by an earthquake of magnitude 7.1 with several aftershocks as well. All citizens have been taking the provisions as well to be safe in the context of this natural phenomenon that has been affecting the capital of Venezuela, Caracas. In a few moments, a few minutes ago, this has happened. This is live images that we are bringing to you. If you're joining us in this live broadcast at this very moment, last minute information, Caracas, Venezuela have been affected by a strong earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.1 that was recorded as its epicenter was placed as well in Venezuela. Particularly Caracas have been feeling with very strong sensitivity what has happened in the past few minutes. Several other regions of the country as well. The quake occurred 28 kilometers northwest of the streets of the capital, Caracas. This is happening. Last minute information. Caracas, Venezuela has been struck by a strong earthquake. We are feeling at this very moment aftershocks as well that is happening as we are informing and bringing you the latest information that is happening at this very moment in the South American nation of Venezuela. Caracas at this very moment is feeling a new aftershock after a very strong earthquake of 7.1 of a magnitude of 7.1, one of the most strongest in the Richter scale as well. This is last minute information. We have to inform that this is happening as we are informing, as we are speaking on the moment, are being felt as well along the capital, Caracas, and other territories as well of Venezuela. It is a very difficult and also an emergency situation, but also authorities and local government as well are calling on the population to stay alert, but also to remain calm. This also is a call for all citizens who are watching us to also pay a call as well to your relatives and also call them and ask them to remain calm. This is happening at this very moment. A strong earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.1 has been recorded in Venezuela, and also several aftershocks have been placed. Other countries have been affected as well. Venezuela, also the Caribbean, Netherlands Islands as well, Aruba, Curacao, Saint Felipe, Yaracuy had its epicenter as well in, as we were informing just a few moments ago, in Montalban, that was the epicenter as well. We, a few moments ago, were seeing live images of the capital of Venezuela, Caracas. This is at this moment as we are speaking. You can see all of the population of the capital city of Venezuela, of Caracas, that are at this very moment deployed on the streets, taking all the preventions, all the measures needed to remain safe, to be safe. At this moment, we can see the people that are as well are also giving a hand to other neighbors. This is a call as well for the entire population to be alert, but also to remain calm, to remain on the streets, on secure areas, and also to be conscious that this is also going to be momentarily. The most strong earthquake has been felt already, so the aftershocks are also very concerning, but they are very less strong, very less felt as well. Other informations, let's recall that in this earthquake, this 7.1 magnitude earthquake that has been recorded in Venezuela has also triggered a tsunami warning for several Caribbean islands that surround as well the epicenter that let's recall that was felt 28 kilometers northwest of Montalban in Venezuela, and also has triggered tsunami warnings for Puerto Rico, for U.S. Virgin Islands, for Curacao as well, for Aruba. This is also, we are bringing you the latest updates as we speak. This, let's recall that this happened as well just a few moments ago, so that is why we are also compiling all of the informations that are happening as we are performing this live broadcast. A major 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck in Venezuela on Wednesday and prompted tsunami alerts in the Caribbean, according to monitoring agencies in the United States. Also, tsunami advisory was issued as well for coastal areas for Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the British Virgin Islands, according to U.S. Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. The agency said that people in those areas who are in or near the ocean should get out of the water, off the beach, and as well away from harbors or inlets. Tsunami waves also were possible along the coast of Venezuela, Bonaire, Curacao, and also the islands of Aruba. The quake also happened at 6:04 p.m. Venezuela time and about 17 miles northwest of Montalban. So the epicenter as well was felt at 28 kilometers northwest of Montalban. As we just informed, it triggered a tsunami warning for several island nations of the Caribbean, for Puerto Rico, from the US Virgin Islands. It is important to note that we are at this very moment seeing live images. We have a team spread on the streets of Caracas, and this is everything that is happening at this very moment. You can see that the people are remaining on the streets as a precaution, as a prevention, just to be safe in case of several aftershocks are felt, as we have been feeling them in the moments, in the minutes that followed that big and strong 7.1 magnitude earthquake that struck Venezuela. Let's recall that's a little past 6 p.m. Caracas time and Venezuela time. The authorities are starting to come out to address the people, to address the population. I'm being informed by my producers that the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, is already giving statements after this strong event that has happened in Caracas, Venezuela, a strong event that is also placing Caracas in the national and international as well spectrum, and also as all medias and all people around the world are starting to get to know that this has happened in the nation and are starting as well to try to be informed of what is happening. Well, what is happening is that it was a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that was very strong, and precisely in Telesur headquarters here in Caracas, Venezuela, it was felt with it was very strong, it has been very strong. All of the journalists and all of the staff of Telesur had to evacuate the building. Now we are having as well and are trying as well to secure the transmission, so you get to be informed on everything and on a minute basis on everything that is happening here in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. At this very moment, we are awaiting as well for statements on the highest authorities of the nation. The Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, are giving statements, and we are waiting as well for their statements to address the population, to call for calm. It is the most important thing to know now at this very moment. The most important thing you need to be is careful as well and calm, and also gather with the closest people near you to remain as well protected among all neighbors. That is what is happening precisely at this very moment in the streets of Caracas, where we are informing Telesur headquarters here in Caracas. And what we can see is that even the neighbors were the first ones to offer the first aids, and also to call for as well to call for evacuation, to go for safer areas. And as we have been informing, we are feeling at this very moment, we have been feeling aftershocks after the big and very strong earthquake that has a moment. This also is live images. It is important to know that even when the image is a little bit off, and if you see that perhaps the TV jams, is because we are informing on a minute basis, and in most of the places perhaps the communications are failing because of what has happened in the nation. But this is important to be informed of how the people of Caracas and Venezuela are reacting to this major event that has been filling with very much strength here in the capital, Caracas. And it is happening as well in a moment in which many citizens were driving back home after a day of work, and they are at this moment encountering and having this situation that we are facing, that Venezuelans are facing at this hour. However, you can see calm on the streets of Caracas. You can see as well that there's elderly people, there's young people, there are kids as well, and it is a protocol that have been followed by the citizens of Caracas and Venezuela as a whole, that was evacuate buildings. It was a very scary scenario that us here from Telesur, journalists and all of the staff of Telesur even felt that with very much concern. Walls cracked in front of jams, but it is because communications have been failing as well in the context, in the panorama that has left this 7.1 magnitude earthquake that has struck Venezuela in the last minutes. It is not more than 30, perhaps 40, 45 or even 1 hour just after this live broadcast that we are giving to you all the latest updates as they come by, as they have been unleashing and unfolding following this major 7.1 magnitude earthquake that has struck Venezuela in the past few minutes. Let's recall that particularly in Caracas it was very much felt, and several other regions of the country. The quake occurred 28 kilometers northwest of Montalban and triggered as well a tsunami warning for Puerto Rico, for the island nation of Aruba as well, for the US Virgin Islands as well. This is what has happened that has been creating so much commotion. But however, in spite of the dangerous situation that posed this major earthquake and also its several aftershocks, people remain calm, people remain as well. You can see all of our colleagues out of Telesur headquarters here in Caracas, all of them calling their relatives, all of them worrying about about the magnitude, the long and major scale magnitude of this earthquake. However, as you could see as well in the live images that we were bringing to you, that the people remain on the streets as a precaution, as a prevention to remain safe. Also, caring for one another. We could see elderly people, we could see as well children, pets as well, people with their pets on the streets, on the plain streets. And it was also in a very crucial moment for the capital, 6 p.m., 6:04 p.m., Caracas, Venezuela time. And that meant that it was a very crucial moment for the citizens of the nation. That was also the moment when they were returning home from a day of work, and also there are at this moment no reports of the major aftermath of this event, of this major event. So that is why we are bringing you this live minute by minute transmission, so as we could be, as we know every information, so we can share it to you at this moment. What it is known, if you're joining us in this last minute information, we had felt a 7.1 magnitude earthquake, and precisely in this very context we are also informing that there has been a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that struck in Venezuela on Wednesday, that was felt as well in other regions of Venezuela, not just Caracas, but in Caracas it was felt with very much strength. And also we have our colleague Luis Alberto Matos. He said to offer statements, just he's outside of the headquarters of Telesur here in Caracas, and he said to offer all of the informations that he has out there, that he has been speaking with other colleagues, other citizens as well. Go ahead, Luisi, what can you share with us? What do you have for us at this moment?
We are here in the streets of Caracas reporting on what just occurred just a minute ago, just over a half hour ago, here in the city of Caracas in Venezuela, especially towards the area of Zulia, where the epicenter was located, of this very strong earthquake that took place a few minutes past 6 p.m. Caracas time, an earthquake that is being registered as 7.1 according to U.S. and Colombian geological sources. This earthquake has triggered a lot of repercussions, especially as we were saying in that area. It was very strongly felt here in Caracas, where we are standing right now. It was also felt in the Caribbean, in Curaçao, in the areas around the north of Venezuela, and also in the border area between, as we were saying, between Zulia and that other area with Colombia. The strength was 7.1. It was a fairly shallow earthquake, as the depth was less than 30 kilometers of depth. And as we were saying, tsunami alerts have been declared by the Colombian authorities, especially on the Pacific coast of the nation, and authorities are on alert to see how it will develop. Already several aftershocks of over 3 of over 3 in the scale have been registered across the different regions that were affected. We have been seeing images on social media of the damage, the repercussions that it has had. This very strong earthquake that I was speaking with the locals here, with Venezuelan people, and so many of them were telling me that over 20 years that they've been living here in the capital city, they have never experienced something like this. So as we recall, a 7.1 earthquake just struck past the 6 p.m. mark here in Caracas time. We have reports of infrastructure damage. Many buildings have been reported to have superficial damage, but we are also getting reports from different other areas more close to the epicenter of the earthquake, the 7.1 earthquake, like San Bernardino and other places like these, other areas where buildings have collapsed, different structures have been heavily damaged. We still, of course, have no reports on any human casualty, so we have to stay tuned to everything that the authorities will be providing in the official channels as the process continues. When it happened, past, as we were saying, past 6 p.m., the buildings shook very strongly. We have reports from different neighborhoods, from different areas here in the capital city, like Altamira, Caiza, we see in Miranda, is even farther from the epicenter, also felt the earthquake very, very strongly, and the people, of course, very quickly took shelter in the middle of the street. People very quickly evacuated the buildings where they are to wait the earthquake out. There was an alert given by the phones. Everyone's phones began to ring just seconds before the earthquake hit. And as soon as the quake was felt, people very quickly exited the place where they were staying to be able to look for shelter in the streets. So this is the information that is happening right now. Authorities are going over.
Thank you, Luis. We were speaking to our colleague, Luis Alberto Matos. He was reporting from Caracas, Venezuela, after a major 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck Venezuela, but with most strength here in Caracas. He is out of the headquarters of Telesur here in the capital of the South American nation, and he was sharing with us the last minute information that we have so far. At this very moment, no authorities have been assessing a list of damages or even if there are loss of life in the midst of what has happened that have been creating so much commotion. The city have been starting to get dark here in Venezuela, in Caracas. The aftershocks are at this very moment being felt with not with the same strength as the 7.1 magnitude, but the aftershocks have been feeling non-stop at this very moment regarding the 3.3 at around 3.3 magnitude. That was the aftershocks. And now we have back our colleague Luis Alberto Matos. He is here in Caracas, Venezuela. He is set to share with us all of his knowledge of what has happened, of what is happening as this event is unfolding. Go ahead, Luis, we hear you.
Hi, once more. Hello. As we were saying just minutes ago, the news is that a 7.1 earthquake struck in Venezuela, in the Zulia area of Venezuela, around with the border with Colombia. A very powerful earthquake that was felt in many regions in both Colombia, Venezuela, and also nations across the Caribbean that are in the northern area of Venezuela, like Curacao. They felt this very strong shake. As we were saying previously, the earthquake was very shallow. It had a depth of less than 30 kilometers, so that's why it was felt so strongly in the area. And people very quickly, as soon as the alert came out, took shelter in the middle of the street, evacuated the buildings. We are getting reports, as we were saying, of different infrastructure damages across different buildings all across Caracas, and especially going more into the inside of the country where the earthquake was more strongly felt close to the epicenter. We were saying previously that there were tsunamis alert given. I will tell you the nations are currently under tsunami alert. Venezuela, of course, Aruba, Bonaire, and Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands are in a warning alert right now in terms of tsunami. We're saying also that in the Pacific coast of Colombia, the Colombian authorities issued the tsunami alerts the people have been called to stay attentive to any information that is coming from the authorities. We were saying that there are infrastructure damage. We have reports on different areas, especially closer to the epicenter of the earthquake, that some buildings, some infrastructure have completely collapsed. We were receiving images of a building in San Bernardino which also collapsed. So especially in those areas where constructions have been older. Here in Caracas, in the capital city where we are, many buildings, their facade were damaged. There are cracks on the buildings as well. We have reports in neighborhoods like Altamira that also was strongly felt, and the buildings were also have present several cracks, and some infrastructure damage was caused there as well. As we were saying, the Venezuelan people quickly took to the streets to take shelter. They are currently, everything right now is calm. There have been several aftershocks following the quake, as it was to be expected after such a powerful earthquake, a 7.1 earthquake, as we were saying, in the Zulia area, in the border area with Colombia. And following this aftershock, calm has returned in a way to Venezuela, as people now are returning back to the buildings to get their belongings. Some are going back to continue with their work. Others are going back home to check on their families, to check on their goods, on everything. And this is how it continues to be. Just a reminder, 7.1 earthquake. I was telling you, I was speaking with the locals, I was speaking with the Venezuelan people here, and they were telling me that they don't recall something so powerful being felt, such a powerful earthquake that was felt. We were here in the headquarters of our offices, and we felt how everything shook, the computers, everything was moving. And this is the information we're getting right now. So we're saying 7.1 earthquake, according to U.S. Geological Services, as well as Colombian Geological Services. Tsunami alerts are in place. Everyone has been called to pay attention on what is happening from the official authorities. We'll expect to see a statement coming from the authorities to learn more about the scope of the damage that this powerful earthquake has brought about, as we were saying, past the 6 p.m. mark, Caracas time, when the earthquake hit. So far, it doesn't seem to be any kind of human casualty. So far, no reports have been issued. I would imagine that there are some injuries, minor injuries, due to the quake, due to the people exiting quickly from the buildings where they were at the moment of the quake, of the moment that the earthquake hit. 7.1 earthquake, very shallow one, less than 30 kilometers depth. And right now, tsunami alerts, as we were saying, are across different countries in the region, especially Colombia, Aruba, Venezuela. So we have to stay tuned with what the authorities say. This is what from now, but for the moment, calm prevails in this area where we are. That's what I can see, and we are getting report of the infrastructure.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Luis. We were speaking at this hour to Luis Alberto Matos, journalist here from Telesur. He's outside in the capital of Venezuela, in Caracas, talking to neighbors, talking to citizens, to know what is happening. And in the aftermath of the major 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck in Venezuela, past 6 p.m. Caracas time. And it is important to say that, as we have been seeing as in our live images, the people remain on the streets, remain preventive as well, to be safeguarded in the context of as well the aftershocks that continue to be felt here in Caracas, Venezuela, after a major 7.1 magnitude earthquake. We are waiting as well for statements from the highest authorities of the nation. We were informed that just a few minutes ago, the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, was addressing the population. So far, authorities are assessing the real damage that has caused this major event, as well this situation is unfolding in Venezuela. We also have the information that this major event was as well felt in several nations of the region, Colombia, for example, as well as also the Caribbean, Netherlands, Curacao, Aruba, the island nation of Aruba, and other island nations as well. This is what is happening. As we can see, people are deployed, remain on the streets, all as well paying each other's, also attending each other, and we can see that there is calm at this hour and the lights still on, so the electric system of the capital hasn't failed so far. However, communications have been on and off as well, with our correspondent that is walking through the capital's, the main streets of the capital. There are reports that it has been felt with much strength as well in Colombia, in the neighboring nation of Colombia. Authorities of that nation as well are set to offer statements regarding the aftermath, the assessment of the damage that has caused at this very moment, as our correspondent Luis Alberto Matos was informing just a few moments ago during our conversation. He said that so far there are no records of human life lost in this major event. However, it is expected to be known if there are any possible fatalities regarding this event, because it was very strong, and it remains to be seen, to be informed, the real consequences, the real damages that have been caused by this major event. We can see that there was as well much commotion. Our correspondent at this moment is speaking to a citizen of the capital. He's offering his statement and his experience after this major event, that we can see how it was very much felt as well in high buildings of the capital. Venezuela is a city that it is very much formed by high buildings of over 4 to 5 story buildings there, and higher as well. In those buildings it was felt with much strength. It is important to note that this is happening as we speak. This is live images of what is happening in the capital of Venezuela at this very moment. We have a citizen of the capital giving his personal assessment. Let's listen. Many people through the halls of the buildings. That was the statement of this citizen at this moment, this elderly man as well. We could see that he was in very much commotion after what has happened. However, in general, we can see that there is calmness in the capital of Venezuela after this important and major event that has shaken the capital, the foundations of the city, that, as reported by several locals, this has been the strongest earthquake felt here in the capital of Venezuela. And it is important to say that we are seeing at this moment some images of the damage that has caused the 7.1 magnitude earthquake here in the capital of Venezuela. We have a cracked building. Also, in our personal experience of what happened, also here in the headquarters of Telesur in Caracas, it was strong felt as well. We could see, as all of the employees and all the journalists and all of the personal staff here in the headquarters of Telesur, in our studios here in Caracas, as we were rushing down the stairs, we could see how the walls were cracking as we were going down the stairs, and it was a very terrific moment for all of us. And also we can imagine what the whole city was feeling at that very moment of terror and concern. But the aftermath is this. You could see that people are on the streets and they are hugging each other, as we could see this little kid hugging her mother, and we can see elderly people, we can see all of them gathering together, neighbors helping each other. We can see elderly people. We can see that there is calm, and that is precisely the main call that we do here from our position, that we are informing non-stop, even in the midst of aftershocks. We are here in front of our cameras bringing you all of the latest information. So you can see, and that is our main call, that the city is at peace, that the city is calm in the context of so much commotion. But going back to the main informations that we have, as we have been informing, there was a strong earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.1 magnitude. Let's listen to statements of the citizens. We are protecting each other from the walls of the building in the midst of concerns about collapse. It was very, very strong. our phones, we had an alarm on our phones of earthquake. We had the information on our cell phones as the earthquake was happening. And at the very moment when we already felt that the tremor, we are now waiting here waiting for them to inform us if it's safe to go back to our buildings. The most important thing to preserve here is life. Thank you very much for. We could see at this moment that 2 citizens were speaking to our correspondent at this moment, to our TV. They are saying that the most important thing that they have to preserve is life, and that is precisely what has happened in the capital. They were saying that they were very much afraid. However, there was a warning that arrived at every cell phone in the capital in Venezuela and through the main affected cities. There was an information, a previous information, a warning of earthquake. That is why it was the first step that the population got to know that something was about to happen. All of the cell phones of the citizens of this capital were ringing at the very moment in which the earthquake was set to begin. Those 2 citizens were explaining that after that message, that's when the big tremor began, and that is why they were at the very moment looking for safe areas to be, because this has been the most strong earthquake that has been felt by the citizens of this capital. That was what the 2 citizens were informing. That coincide as well with the perception, the general perception of locals. People are on the streets, are very much concerned, and also they are waiting for an assessment to get to know if it is safe to go back to their houses that have many of them, not without any numbers, but it is very likely that there has been much damage. Let's listen to these statements. I was trembling. All my building was falling apart. Was the one who helped me out of the building, but this has been a real earthquake. How do you feel now? Concerned. Why are you concerned? Not just for my home. What I'm worried about, that this happens again. Thank you, lady. What are your impressions? Well, we're seeing another statement of a Venezuelan citizen that was giving her perceptions of what has happened. And that is important to say that she was an elderly person that received help from one of the neighbors. This is in moments of chaos, in moments of uncertainty, what helps the most is having one another, regardless of if they are relatives or not. You have your neighbors, you have your friends as well. All of the citizens are coinciding in one aspect, and that is that they are waiting for general informations to get to know if it is safe to come back home. And precisely in this context, in this scenario, we have a second contact with our correspondent, our colleague, Luis Alberto Matos. He is here in Caracas, Venezuela, set to offer more statements regarding what's happened.
This is the latest news day, because it was a very shallow earthquake right over 200 kilometers west from Caracas in the town of Moron. This town is in the state of Carabobo, and it was very shallow. That's why it was very strongly felt. It was only 13 kilometers deep. Therefore, the shallow an earthquake is, the more strong it is felt on the surface, and of course, the more damage it brings about to the surface. As we were saying in previous contact, different sources are reporting, different videos on social media are showing slight damage to infrastructure, especially here in the capital. But as you get closer to the epicenter, closer in the Carabobo state, in the Zulia region, in the border with Colombia, more severe damage have been reported, with some structures completely collapsing. We also got information that the international airport, Maiquetía Airport, Simón Bolívar, which is in La Guaira, very near here, the capital district, also reports very serious damage in terms of the infrastructure within. Very many things were thrown out of place, and right now work is being done in the international airport to resume operations operation as normal as soon as possible. Back here in the city in Caracas, where we are, where I am located right now, where our team, the earthquake was very strongly felt. I was speaking, as I was saying to you earlier, with people here, and they were saying that they did not feel something as strong as this before. And of course, this perception of strength was felt due to the depth of the earthquake, which was very shallow, because a similar earthquake like this one also occurred in Venezuela a few years back in 2018, but it happened in Sucre state and also impacted all the region down there, especially more to the south of the nation, also being affected in Brazil and all the other nations surrounding that area. But since 2018, something as strong like this has not happened in the country, and people here in Caracas are saying that they have not felt something like this, and especially it's due to, as we were saying, the depth of the earthquake was over 13 kilometers. Reporting on more infrastructure damage, we still have no official statement from the authorities. We'll have to stay tuned to when the authorities come out with the official report to the extent of the damage, to the scope of how this powerful 7.1 earthquake affected the Bolivarian nation and how it was felt in other regions, as we were saying, of this South American nation, of this South American area of South America, of the continent and the Caribbean. The reason why this quake, Venezuela is accustomed of quakes. Venezuela sits on the tectonic text of South America and the Caribbean, so it's very common to have earthquakes in Venezuela. So Venezuelans are, I wouldn't say accustomed, but they know what to do when an earthquake like this hits. As soon as the alert began to sound on the phones, people very quickly took shelter, exited the buildings. They took shelter in calm, remaining calm in the street. That's in the phase that we are right now. People are currently on the streets. People are talking with their families. They are checking on their beloved ones to see how they are doing, to check if everything okay. People have remained calm on the street, waiting for the moment to pass, waiting for the aftershocks. We have had report of several aftershocks, some of them over 3.0 in the Richter scale, and this is what is happening right now. Venezuela is in calm, is trying to recover now following this powerful earthquake, as we wait for the authorities to provide the official statement, the official scope of the damage that has caused. We have no reports or any suggestions on social media or anything like that of any human life casualty. So the only thing that we are seeing is superficial damage in the infrastructure, especially in this area in Caracas. It was felt. I know people that are in Miranda to the east where we are right now, and it was felt all the way to the and I'm saying all the way over there because the epicenter was to the west. So it was felt over there. Everyone in that area is also fine. They only report superficial damage to the building as well. But we do have reports. We have seen videos, the footage on social media. We have seen that closer to the epicenter, some smaller constructions, smaller buildings have collapsed due to the strength of the shake. As we were saying, it was very strongly felt here in Caracas, and it was even more powerful, as you can imagine, closer to the epicenter in Carabobo State, in Zulia, in the border with Colombia. There are tsunami alerts in place, especially for Venezuela, Colombia, Aruba, Curacao. Also in the Pacific coast of Colombia, the Colombian authorities issue tsunami warnings. There are tsunami warnings also in other nations of the Caribbean, in Puerto Rico. There are tsunami warnings. People just stay in tune. The authorities have called people to remain informed through the official channels on how this situation continues to unfold. So far, me personally, I have not felt any more aftershocks here in Caracas, but this is just a personal perception. As we were saying, stay tuned with the official channel, stay tuned with Telesur to continue monitoring and how all this situation is evolving. As we were saying, a small superficial damage in this area where we are right now, more stronger damage closer to the epicenter, a 7.1 earthquake that was felt across the region in all this northern area, western area of Venezuela, Colombia, Curacao, Aruba, all these regions felt this strong earthquake. It was very strong. It was felt very strongly due to his depth, which was over 13 kilometers, less than 13 kilometers. This is according to U.S. Geological Services. We still have to wait for the Venezuelan authorities to provide their report, and we'll be tuned to that. But what is happening right now, I'm sure our viewers are seeing this on their screens, on the images. Venezuelans are currently taking shelter. They are currently on the streets. They are talking with their families. They are just going over what happened. And right now, everything remains calm. As the people just stay in attention to see what comes after, what are going to be the report and what's going to be the final result, the final damage result that is provided in that official report by the Venezuelan authorities. So superficial damage, I know people also downtown in Caracas as well, that they report that they felt the quake very strongly over there. Buildings also show cracks on the facade and also in some interiors, but on the walls, not on the support columns, which is the most important thing for a building to stay up. So that's the information we are getting right now. We're going to stay tuned, of course, monitoring this situation. As we were saying, Venezuela is currently calm. People are on the street taking shelter, just waiting it out. No more aftershocks have been felt. No more tremors have occurred of that strength. It was that moment, 4 minutes past 6 p.m. near the town of Moron in Carabobo State, roughly 200 kilometers west of Caracas City, where I am right now. And as the people continue to monitor as the situation unfolds, calm prevails, and locally, so far, no information have been given about human losses, so we stay tuned for that. Only superficial damages, especially here in Caracas areas. Some more affected buildings closer to the epicenter, some smaller buildings that have collapsed, and also we have reports from the international airport in Maiquetía, Simón Bolívar, that reports damages, especially in the interior. As you can imagine, the strength of the quake, it quickly moved everything about. But that's the information we have right now. We're going to stay here to continue providing the latest information on this 7.1 earthquake that struck Venezuela 4 minutes past 6 p.m. Caracas time.
Thank you, Luisi, for all of your information at this moment. You were mentioning something that is very crucial that I want to highlight and go back to it, and that is to make a call to the population to remain informed through the official channels. At this very moment, there are no reports that communications have been down in the capital, so it is important for the population to remain informed on what is happening and also on the calls of the authorities of the nation. Now we have a little bit wider, our informations on what has happened, and that is, if you're joining us now, well, a strong earthquake struck Caracas, Venezuela's capital, and other locations in the northern part of the country. We are seeing at this very moment live images that we are bringing you to your TVs at this hour. That's one side of the one street of the capital, Caracas. We can see the people are on the streets, remain on the streets, awaiting for information in order to get to know if it is actually safe to go back to their homes. There have been potential damage to infrastructure throughout the capital of Venezuela that have been feeling with much strength what has happened, and in a very strong earthquake, unprecedented apparently according to locals, unprecedentedly strong earthquake that has struck Caracas, Venezuela's capital, and also other locations in the northern part of the country on Wednesday, June 24, 4 past 6 p.m. local time. And according to preliminary reports that are not official so far, the seismic event has caused very considerable damage throughout the nation, throughout the capital, throughout the most affected regions, Caracas included as well. The event had a magnitude of 7.1. The quake occurred at 6:04 p.m. Authorities of Venezuela are at this very moment deployed throughout the capital, throughout Caracas, Venezuela, in order to assess the damage and also offer afterwards information on what has happened, on everything that has been, what it is the aftermath of this strong event that has struck Caracas. We keep seeing images of the capital, Venezuela. We can see that the transportation system has been going on non-stop, and also the people remain deployed. You can see both sides of the sidewalk. You can see the people that are deployed throughout throughout the paveways as well. And this was earlier today. Now it's getting darker here in the capital. This was a few minutes before now, and we could see that it was the instant reaction of the people, and that was to be deployed on the streets, to go out to safe spaces, open spaces, and also be away from any possible building that could potentially collapse after this. It was a very strong event. It was very, very terrifying, and perhaps even in the midst of everything that has happened and how the capital felt it, you can see that people remain calm. That was also what our colleague was informing just a few moments ago, that the people remain calm, the city remains calm. At this moment, it is important to know what has happened. Well, there was a 7.1 magnitude earthquake here in Venezuela that has been felt as well in other neighboring nations such as Colombia, and also some island nations such as Curacao and also Aruba. And also this has been important. It has been as well. We are feeling at this very moment here in our studios, our headquarters here in Caracas, we can see we are feeling an aftershock. There has been plenty of them, and it remains to be seen the actual aftermath, the actual consequences of what is happening. So that is why it is not safe just yet to return to their homes, to return home, to return to their buildings, because of the aftershocks as well. During our conversations with several locals, with neighbors of the capital, Caracas, we could see that people was calm but also afraid of what has happened, and also there is going to be also a fear of something like this to happen again. However, for the time being, people remain calm, remain in safe areas. At this time, as we have been informing, there is no official information regarding casualties. However, correspondents from Telesur and social media users as well are reporting significant material damage in some areas of the Venezuelan capital. Hundreds of people evacuated residential buildings, as we can see these very images that we are sharing with you. At this hour, hundreds of people evacuated residential buildings and workspaces to protect themselves from potential damage and possible aftershocks. In addition, interruptions to internet and telephone services were reported as well. And in this context, the United States Geological Survey, USGS, reported that there was not one earthquake, but two earthquakes of magnitude 7.1. One had its epicenter 28 kilometers northwest of the municipality of Montalban, located about 100 kilometers west of Caracas. And earlier, the agency had reported another earthquake of the same magnitude with its epicenter 21 kilometers west of the municipality of Moron, at a similar distance from the capital. So there was two. Now we are seeing as well, once again, live images of Caracas, of the main streets of Caracas at this hour. As you can see, it's getting dark here in the capital of Caracas, but the electricity system, the electric grid hasn't failed. We can see for the moment, this is no official information, but as we can see, as we are witnessing in our live images, there are lights on. That is important to know that the earthquake that has been massive and unprecedented as well hasn't affected in great proportion the electric grid of the capital, Caracas. You can see that the image jams. That is because communications are on and off according to the neighborhood and according to the damage that has caused in several locations. But what is happening is that the people remain on the streets. What is happening as well is that people remain disciplined. It is important to say and to highlight as well that people have been very disciplined at this hour. There have been as well also statements of several locals, of neighbors of the capital, Caracas, that have been saying that the most important thing is to preserve life. Now, the instant reaction was to get out of buildings, to go to safer places, regardless of everything that they left behind, material artifacts. It doesn't matter when it comes to preserve life, and that is what is happening. At this very moment, there are no official informations regarding the casualties or the actual damage, material losses that have been suffered by the nation, by the capital, Caracas, at this hour. But we are expecting that in the coming moments, in the coming hours, we are going to have official assessments on what has happened here in Caracas today. It is important to keep informing that, for its part, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center also, after this earthquake, this strong earthquake, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center issued a tsunami alert for Venezuela and nearby island regions. At this very moment, it hasn't been informed actually if there is still a potential risk of tsunami, but it is very likely to remain on place. Also, the last comparable earthquakes to occur in Venezuela was in 2018, when a magnitude 7.3 quake struck the state of Sucre and affected at least 10 countries in the region, including Brazil, Guyana, and several Caribbean islands. So there is a precedent, but however, the capital citizens hasn't witnessed for the moment being any touring the capital, touring the main cities, visiting the main cities of the capital. We can see as well that we are going to be informing of everything that is happening at this very moment as the information unfold. But the most important thing is to inform that authorities are being deployed throughout the capital of Caracas to assess the damage. Let's recall that this is the most strong event that has happened here in Venezuela since January 3rd. It is important to say that this is a city that also was struck by a military attack on January 3rd. That was the most impactful event that happened. This, as we are seeing at this very moment, is Altamira neighborhood. It is important to say that we can see the people that are still deployed on the streets here in this particular neighborhood. The municipality of Chacao, the neighborhood of Altamira, in the municipality of Chacao, we can see that the transportation system continues non-stop and people remain disciplined, remain calm as well. There are no disturbs at this hour. It is the most important thing that has happened afterwards this major event, is that people remain calm, remain on the streets, remain gathering with their loved ones, as well as the authorities assess the magnitude of the casualties, if there are casualties. It hasn't been informed so far. And it is important as well that at this very moment there are no informations regarding material losses. However, there is, on social media, people are informing that damages have been very impactful. We can see buildings cracked as well, with facades cracked, and it has been a strong earthquake, so it is very likely that there are going to be damage losses. However, it is not hasn't been informed yet. We are expecting the authorities to offer statements, to offer official statements. We are waiting as well statements from the acting president, Delcy. Most strong event that felt was on the early hours of January 3rd, when there was a military attack, and most of them even compare the anxiety they have felt today with that early hours when there were also strong tremors throughout the nation. This is what is happening at this very moment as we are informing non-stop. If you're joining us in this very moment of live broadcast, Venezuela has felt a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that struck in the early hours of this afternoon in past 6:04 p.m. local time, and that also have been filling with much strain and most commotion among the citizens of the capital of Caracas. And we are informing you with every detail that has happened so far. We were speaking to our colleague Luis Alberto Matos, who is out and is gathering information and speaking to the people. We also were listening to statements from several locals. They were saying that the most important thing to do now is to preserve life, and that is why it is important for the population to remain informed. So far, as we could see throughout the images, live images that we were sharing with you of the capital, we could see that lights are still on. So in the midst of this massive event, the electric grid hasn't failed so far. Communications depends on the neighborhood, but in general, the city remains as usual, but with the people outside, with the people taking shelter in open spaces, safeguarding their lives, gathering together with their neighbors. One of the elderly person who was interviewed by our correspondent in the main cities of Caracas, she was saying that the first person who assisted her was her neighbor, and that is something that is going to be repeated and multiplied throughout the capital. That is the main reason is that many people were on their way home after a day of work, but many elderly people as well remain at home. So it has been a repeated image. You can see that elderly people were sitting on the sideways with their neighbors, being cared for by their neighbors. So it is a moment of unity, and Venezuela has a very long-standing history of supporting one another. It is a people that knows that united they are stronger. So it is what we are seeing now in the midst of so much commotion and in a wider information. It was reported by worldwide institutions regarding this earthquake. It was informed that there were 2 earthquakes today. One that of 7.1 magnitude that had its epicenter 28 kilometers northwest of the municipality of Montalban, located about 100 kilometers west of Caracas. But earlier, the agency of the United States Geological Survey had reported as well another earthquake of the same magnitude with its epicenter 21 kilometers west of the municipality of Moron, at a similar distance from the capital. If we have to say there are other precedents, so this is not precisely unprecedented here in Venezuela. There was in 2018 a magnitude earthquake of 7.3, but it struck in the capital, in the state of Sucre, affected at least 10 countries in the region. However, for Caracas citizens, for Caracas locals, this is unprecedented in matters of such a strong earthquake here in the capital. We can see still images of the main neighborhoods of the capital. This is Chacao municipality. It is a little bit far away from the center of the capital, but it is a very populated neighborhood. We can see that there are also authorities going through the main streets of the capital, and also we can see that people remain on open spaces as they are waiting as well for the aftershocks to cease. That hasn't stopped yet. We have been feeling, as we were broadcasting live, these informations here in studios, but the perception is that the most strong earthquake has happened already, and that was the one that also got all the citizens of Caracas that put all of them in alert. It is important to say that people of Venezuela, the people of Caracas that have been feeling this event, were following all of the protocols. They got to receive they received actually a message a few moments before the earthquake was felt, all of them received a notification on their cell phones informing that this was going to happen, that this earthquake was going to happen. No one knew at the very moment, because Caracas is not a city that is used to this kind of meteorological events, natural events. So when the phones started ringing with that notification, many of them didn't know even how to react, because it is not used for them to get to this kind of notifications. However, as in the very moment when everything started to tremble, well, there was a reaction of everyone to go out of the buildings and go to seek for safe spaces, open spaces, and get away from buildings that could potentially collapse, as we also in our personal experience here from the headquarters of Telesur here in Caracas, which is a 5-story building. Well, all of the employees of the headquarters went down the stairs, and as we were going down the stairs, the walls were cracking behind us. So it was a very terrifying moment, and it was also multiplied throughout the capital of Venezuela, and most likely through the neighboring nations that also have felt the situation. You are at this very moment witnessing live images from our team that is deployed in the capital, in the main streets of the capital. They are going down the Chacao municipality, and afterwards is going to be Chacaito municipality that is right behind that. And we can see all of them, all of the people are on the streets, deployed, awaiting for official informations, awaiting as well for a safe call to return to their buildings, to their homes. But the most important thing here now is to remain calm, is to preserve peace, is as well to preserve life. The most important thing, the most valuable thing that we have now is our life. That was the statement, the main statement, and I think it is important to highlight it, of one of the elderly citizens that we were interviewing earlier today, as we go in this transmission that hasn't stopped since the very moments after the earthquake, and hasn't stopped even in the midst of the aftershocks that are at this very moment being feeling. We can feel like a little bit of dizziness here as we speak with you. If you're joining us in this live broadcast at this moment, we have information of what has happened, preliminary information, and that is that a 7.1 magnitude earthquake has struck Caracas in the early hours of this afternoon by 6 p.m., a little bit past the 6 p.m. This is the reality of the nation, the reality of the capital, at this very moment. People are walking down the streets, are also rushing to get to their homes. There is potential material damage, but there are no official information so far, and we are awaiting at this moment for official statements from the highest authorities of the nation. Everyone is on the streets. You can see they are calm, which doesn't mean that they are not concerned, but discipline has prevailed. And also you can see, as we were informing just a few moments ago, the lights are on, so this major event hasn't damaged the electric grid of the capital, Caracas, and communications come and go, but they remain stable, as you could see in this very moment, in these live images. They are stable at this very moment. Something that has happened today, it is what Caracas citizens have been experiencing today, and that is a 7.1 magnitude earthquake at this very moment that also occurred and was felt in Colombia, the Caribbean Netherlands, Curacao, also the island nation of Aruba. This was informed by seismic authorities. At this very time, this very moment, there is no official information regarding casualties. However, correspondents from Telesur and social media users reported significant material damage in some areas of the Venezuelan capital. We are awaiting to get to know if there were any buildings that collapsed after this event, which wouldn't be a surprise because it was very strong, it was very chaotic, and it was very horrifying, an experience that it is very horrifying to live. And at that moment, the main call is to remain disciplined, to remain calm, and to also be protective regarding your relatives, but also your neighbors, the person you have closest to you. And this is what we are seeing at this very moment in Caracas as we are driving down the main streets of the capital. People remain on the streets with their little belongings they could take off while rushing out of buildings. In our particular cases, we were always even barely with our cell phones on when we came out of the headquarters, the building of the headquarters of Telesur here in Caracas, Venezuela. The most important thing was to be safe in the midst of such a strong magnitude, of such a strong earthquake of magnitude 7.1. It is important to say that we are waiting at this moment for official informations, also for official reactions of leaders of the region. It is very likely that highest authorities of Colombia and all of the island nations that also felt this event, also to go to their social medias, to take to their social medias to share what is happening as well, and also to assess this magnitude event. We could see as well that repeatedly after this event, sometimes jam, but it is normal because of what has happened. Communication is normal because of what has happened. Communications go off and on as we drive through the main streets of the capital. Now we can see an early image of a building that was affected as well. We can see here precisely some dust covering the air, and that this is the image, the confirmation that there have been buildings that have collapsed. We do not know how many of them there are, but it is very likely that in the midst of this, at this very moment we are bringing you the information as everything unfolds. It has been in the midst of so much commotion, and citizens are taking shelter at this moment in open spaces. It is not known yet if it is safe to return to the buildings, so people and citizens are waiting outside just till the moment they feel they are informed that this is precisely a potential situation of collapse. So the most important thing here is to remain calm, is also to preserve their lives, and precisely to also take care of the elderly people that are at these long hours and these late hours out their houses. Also the children that are also waiting till it's safe to come back to their buildings. It is important to say that this has been a major event that has caused so much commotion in the capital of Venezuela, and it has been a very complex situation for everyone that is experiencing this major event that also provoked buildings to collapse, as we could confirm in this touring of the main streets of the capital. You could see that people remain on the streets. That is the most important thing to do now, is to be safe in open spaces, and in the potential situation of a strong aftershock, for the people to remain calm, to remain disciplined. We are driving through a street that is dark at this moment, but most of what we have been seeing is that also lights have been on in most of those streets that we have been visiting throughout this chaotic afternoon and evening that it has here. Local time is 8 p.m. local time, 2 hours after the main event that has happened, that has shaken the entire nation, the entire capital and other neighboring nations. We are still waiting for more information, for more aftermath of what has happened. There has been a magnitude 7.1 earthquake that has struck the capital of Venezuela, Caracas, capital of Venezuela, Caracas, and other locations in the northern part of the country as well. That happened at 6:04 p.m. local time, and was also felt, as we have been informing, in Colombia, the Caribbean Netherlands, Curacao, and also Aruba. We are bringing you the informations as they are unfolding at this very hour. It is important to say that also citizens have been taken to the social media to share the experiences of others, to share the moment as well. And it is expected as well that there are said to come reactions from leaders worldwide, and as this tragedy has shaken Venezuela, the South American nation. Now we are set to listen to the statements that the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, gave just a few minutes ago when he was addressing the population. Let's listen to his statements.
Sí, saludos. Bueno, lamentando.
Well, unfortunately, we must inform our people about this kind of situation. A seismic event has occurred which, according to initial measurements, appears to be well above 7.0 in magnitude. We are awaiting the corresponding final reports, but it has been felt from the states of Trujillo, Yaracuy, Carabobo, Aragua, Miranda, Caracas, and La Guaira with greater intensity in some areas. Here in Caracas, we have several critical zones, including Los Palos Grandes and Altamira, which are naturally seismic areas. We are seeing very alarming scenes with buildings, houses, and residential structures collapsing. We have already deployed all relevant agencies, including security forces, civil protection teams, volunteers, firefighters, and police, all of whom are actively responding.
Policías todas están desplegadas.
We have seen very concerning scenes. That was what said the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, a few moments ago. This information was not live. He offered these statements minutes ago, but it is what he has said, that unfortunately there are concerning images throughout the capital. Building collapsed, and there are potential injured that are going to be among the debris as well of those collapsed buildings. Perhaps there are also people who have been stranded, perhaps in building elevators as well. And it remains to be seen the actual face of the capital of Venezuela when there are the information, the promptly information, official information gathered after this tour that the authorities of the country, acting President Delcy Rodriguez, the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, and other high officials of the nation are gathering and compiling at this moment to bring you the latest informations, the crucial informations after this tragic event that has shaken the capital of Venezuela, that also is living very concerning images regarding buildings that have collapsed and also the people concerned in the streets. However, it is important to say that Venezuelans, that Caracas citizens are disciplined at this moment, are deployed in safe areas as well, and are preserving preserving their lives at this crucial moment. And going back to the words of the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, let's inform that, and I quote, "Unfortunately, we must inform our people about this kind of situation. A seismic event has occurred which, according to initial measurements, appears to be well above 7 magnitude. We are awaiting," he said, "the corresponding final reports, but it has been filed from the states of Trujillo, Yaracuy, Carabobo, Aragua, Miranda, Caracas, and La Guaira, but with much emphasis here in Caracas, in the capital, in Los Palos Grandes municipality, and also in the neighborhood of Altamira, where everyone by surprise, even though it is important to highlight that here in Venezuela there is a mechanism to notify the citizens that this event is said to happen just seconds before it happens, and all of the cell phones of nationwide citizens rang at the same time, warning that there was about to be a seismic alert nationwide. Also, let's go back once again to the statements of the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace. He said, "We are awaiting the corresponding final reports, but it has been filed from states of Trujillo, Yaracuy, Carabobo, Aragua, Miranda, Caracas, and La Guaira, with greater intensity as well in some areas. Here in Caracas," he said, "we have several critical zones, including Los Palos Grandes and Altamira. We are naturally seismic areas," he said. "We are seeing very alarming scenes with buildings, houses, and residential structures collapsing. We have already deployed all relevant agencies, including security forces, civil protection teams, volunteers, firefighters, and police, all of whom are actively responding." So this is the panorama at this very moment in Caracas, and that is, if you're joining us in this live broadcast, you need to know, Caracas have been shook by a 7.1 magnitude earthquake. What is happening now, 2 hours into the event, there have been several aftershocks of this event that have been felt, that have been strong, but not that strong as the previous one. And what is happening now is that people remain deployed on the streets and searching for safe areas to be, and also waiting until they get to know that precisely their homes are safe and they can go back. But at this very moment, it is not safe to come back, and they are remaining on the streets and looking for shelter in safe areas with their relatives and neighbors and loved ones. And the other thing that is happening is that authorities are assessing the information, assessing the damage, the material damage, assessing as well if there are injured people, if there are casualties as well. It is going to take time. It has been a strong event. It has, besides, it has affected a long range of cities and a long range of municipalities throughout the capital and other regions of the nation, and other states as well of the nation. But at this very moment, there are no reports of casualties. At this moment, there are no, I repeat, no report of casualties. But it is very likely that numbers go up regarding injured people, because there have been collapsed buildings. There is a very concerning scenario in several localities of the capital, including Los Palos Grandes, including as well Altamira. At this moment, it is still to be known, it remains to be known if there are casualties, and also an assessment of the material damage and material losses that are going to be, may have happened in the midst of the strong earthquake that Venezuela has lived today. And as we speak, it is important for you to know that there have been aftershocks after this big 7.1 magnitude, perhaps very small ones. There were reports as well of 3.3 magnitude earthquakes, aftershocks, my pardon, but they are felt in several locations while on broadcasting at this moment. But the main priority for Telesur English now is to bring you the latest information as they unfold. So also the highlight of the moment is that all relevant agencies, including security forces, including civil protection teams, volunteers, firefighters and police, all of them are deployed and actively responding throughout the nation. In the meantime as well, citizens are disciplined and remain seeking for safe areas to be, with most especially to protect elderly people and also to protect the children of the nation. Also, we could see that people were with their pets on the streets as well, important part of their families as well. And while speaking to locals, they were saying that the most important thing was to leave everything behind and just safeguard the life that is most important, the most important moment. So if you are joining us now, you can see in these images that we're showing you of the early assessment of damage. We could see the dust on the air that confirms that there has been a building collapse in the capital of Venezuela, Caracas. It remains to be seen what has happened in great neighborhoods such as Pare that are very populated, highly populated, and it remains as well. We are waiting as well for confirmation of injured as well, and all of the statements, official statements from the highest authorities of the country. A few moments ago, we were listening to statements of Diosdado Cabello, the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, and he was very transparent when saying that there are critical situations in several hotspots of the capital that were most affected by the 7.1 magnitude earthquake. It has been a very strong event for Venezuelans at this moment, and all international governments and all governments worldwide, and also all international media are having eyes upon Venezuela at this moment, and all of the nations that have been affected by this phenomenon at this very moment. There is no official information regarding casualties, as we have been informing. However, correspondents from Telesur, social media users, have been reporting as well significant material damage in some areas of the Venezuelan capital. Hundreds of people evacuated residential buildings to protect themselves from potential damage, possible aftershocks. In addition, interruptions to internet and telephone services have been as well reported. We have been suffering as well, as you could see that some of our live images were jamming as we were broadcasting, because communications go on and off regarding the affected zone. There are a team that is deployed at this hour in the main streets of the capital, Caracas, are facing as they go into the damage, into the circumstances that we are facing at this very moment. The city is at is very into the night now, 8:20 p.m. local time, and also we are set at this moment to keep informing you on everything that unfolds regarding informations, regarding casualties, if there are any. At this very moment, there are no confirmations, no casualties confirmed, but authorities are precisely deployed to gather all of the informations that needs to be spread. And of course, Telesur English is going to be very attentive at all of the informations that come at this hour from here, Venezuela. And it is important to say that this has been a strong event that also have in some way paralyzed the nation for a few moments, and also all of the citizens are most of the citizens and those affected are deployed on the streets as well, preserving their lives and the lives of their loved ones. And this is what is happening. We listened a few minutes ago from statements of the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, but we are waiting as well for more upcoming informations, and it is expected for the highest authorities of the nation to give live and real-time information as they are gathering at this very moment, as they are deployed, gathering that information regarding the damage, the material damages, or the potential human losses in this tragedy that has struck Venezuela at this hour, and not just Venezuela, also other nations of the region, such as Colombia, such as well Curacao, such as the island of Aruba at this very moment as well. We are also working to get to contact our correspondents that are deployed throughout the capital. We also are waiting for statements of the highest authorities of the nation. What we know so far is that we have been informing on a minute basis what has happened, how it is unfolding this situation in the capital of Venezuela that has no precedent for the citizens of the capital. They have never felt something so strong to happen here in the capital. Most of our colleagues, most of the citizens that we've been speaking to, they are feeling fear. We can see at this very moment a wounded is being transferred, rushed to the hospital in an ambulance, as well to the statements of Minister Diosdado Cabello. There is a concerning situation. We are seeing wounded. We don't know how many of them could be, but we know that there are buildings that have collapsed and there are potential injured within, and we can see that one injured is at this moment being rushed in an ambulance to the hospital, the nearest hospital. We can see as well, along with rescue teams, there are people, there are citizens that are also working in this recovery of wounded in collapsed buildings. There is a confirmation of buildings that have collapsed, and there is a confirmation that we have wounded here in the capital of Venezuela, Caracas. There are wounded after this major event, and it is no surprise. It was a strong earthquake. So we are going to be waiting for the final informations, for the aftermath and regarding the casualties, if there are any, or the amount of wounded after this event. But we have been, as we saw a few moments ago, there are wounded people, injured people after this event, because there are buildings that have collapsed. It is very likely that within those debris there are people trapped. So at this moment, the priority for authorities and all of the rescue teams of capital-wide, they are all centered and prioritized in the recovery of those wounded from collapsed buildings. As Minister Diosdado Cabello said, all relevant agencies are deployed throughout Caracas, including security forces, civil protection teams, volunteers, firefighters, and police. We saw with our very own eyes, and through the live images we are bringing to you, so at this very moment, the main relevant agencies are deployed throughout the nation. We're speaking about security forces, civil protection teams, volunteers, firefighters, and police, all of whom are actively responding, as we could see in our live images, when there was a wounded, an injured person that was being rushed to the hospital after being taken out from the debris of a collapsed building. The situation in the capital Caracas is concerning in several hotspots of the nation. It remains to be seen the actual magnitude of the damage that has left this phenomenon. We also have been informing, as we have been informing at this very moment, if you are joining us in this moment, Venezuela have been struck by a major 7.1 magnitude. We, at this very moment, we could see, this is an image of an early moment of the afternoon, right after the event, that of a building that has collapsed. Everything is unfolding. Everything that is happening as of now is going to be very intense, because now it is when there is going to be more information on everything that has happened. I'm scrolling through several social media platforms, and there is that pouring of messages of users sharing their experiences as well in this event. And it is very concerning. It has been very concerning for all of the population that is at this moment everyone trying to share their experience. We can see throughout social media buildings that are severely damaged by the 7.1 magnitude earthquake. We can see buildings that have their facades partly collapsed and also completely collapsed, as well as the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace has said. There are some places in the capital that have a very concerning scene. There are going to be potentially injured, and at this moment the priority for authorities and also rescue teams is to try to save lives as prompt as possible, and also be with much care, with much awareness, because the aftershocks haven't stopped ever since the first earthquake was felt here in the capital. We have had, on my count, this is not official, but I have felt at least 6 aftershocks or 7 aftershocks after the great one of 7.1 magnitude earthquake. Everything is happening and is unfolding as we have been sharing this live broadcast, and everything that is happening at this moment, as we can say, is that there are no casualties confirmed so far, but there are buildings that have collapsed, are as well injured people that have been rushed to the hospital, and so numbers still are, we are waiting for the numbers to come out. And it is important to say that people on social media are sharing their experiences, as well as the whole population in the capital remains worried and remains on the streets, but remains calm, which is a very positive aspect, and remain as well united and also are being protective of one another. That is the most important situation to take under control. And it is important as well, as we were discussing with our colleague Luis Alberto Matos a few moments ago, an hour ago, that for the people to remain informed through official channels. We are seeing live images at this moment of rescue teams being deployed, firefighters. We're seeing also paramedics that are removing debris in order to save and to also to extract from under the debris potential injured or potential casualties. We don't know yet. There are no official informations. We are